For sure. Absolutely. We're going to start this off the right way. Shout out, props, salute to the Street Profits for their big tag team title victory last night over DIY Smackdown from Barcelona. We can talk the where, the when, the why this happened this close to WrestleMania on a regular Smackdown. We can do all those questions and we'll talk about it. But from the jump, one thing we can all, or most of us, agree on, this was long overdue. Montez and Dawkins are really good, especially as a tag team. They've been more than forgotten, more than put on the back burner, more than thrown to the wayside. And it took Montez a couple months ago finally just opening up, like real talk, about his frustrations. And that became major headlines, thanks in part to channels just like this that put the magnifying glass on it and said, dude, what about Montez and Dawkins? And because we all came together, we kind of started this thing in motion, kind of like we did with Naomi many moons ago. So it was pretty cool to see. Not saying we were the sole entity, but a lot of us came together and we started to go, whoa, listen to what Montez is saying. To the point where even WWE had to, even Hunter Hearst Helmsley had to go, oh, we should be giving them a little bit more. Tag Team Championship changed hands last night, and would I prefer Montez to be on his own singly? Absolutely. I see so much megastar status, no pun intended, no disrespect LA Knight, but megastar that is so beyond untapped in Montez. But Montez doesn't want to break away from Dawkins. You got to respect that loyalty, so they stay united. I thought they were going to turn full throttle heel several weeks back, couple months back, but it looks like they're just tweeners, even last night slapping hands with the fans, but with this new little edgier attitude. I don't know how far that can go. I wish they went full throttle heel. And I also wish that these titles were changing hands at the big pay-per-views, premium live events, especially when Mania is just 35 days away. But it's clear. That's that side of it. Congrats. Let me give a proper salute to the Street Profits, because what I'm about to say is a real concern within WWE, especially because it is Mania season. But it's what has to be said. It's facts that need to be discussed, need to be talked about. So the flip side of this, now that we congratulated the Profits, the flip side is it is clear, because we all know Hunter Hearst Helmsley is beyond, way over his head with booking and creative. Just not good at it. If it wasn't for John Cena, Brian Gerwitz, and The Rock, and setting up that whole thing at Elimination Chamber, we'd be getting John Cena, Cody Rhodes, face versus face for mutual respect. Not just the title, it's for mutual respect. They'll shake hands afterwards. Before and afterwards. But thankfully, Cena said, no, I want to go heel. Thankfully, Brian Gerwitz and The Rock came up with a cool way to do it with Cena, and Hunter was just there for the approval. Gee, thanks. Pretty sure Rock would have done it anyway. Cena would have done it anyway. But if not for that, it is clear the path that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is taking for Mania. We are trading in storylines for brawls and cliffhangers for title changes. Think about it. It's nothing but factual information that I'm sending to you, right? If you really think about it, there are no more epic storylines. Again, if you take the Cena thing out, which was, again, Cena, Rock, Brian Gerwitz, you take that off the table, you're stuck with what? What do we have? Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair, let's be honest, is the most interesting thing going on right now storyline-wise. Again, take the Cena thing out. That's it. There aren't really epic storylines, not even really good. It's just brawls. Why? Because it's easier. We have taken away the storyline, or the art of the storyline. In its place, we have made it much more simple for Hunter Hearst Helmsley and the writers. We just have brawls nonstop. Did you guys see what happened last night? Even Tiffany Stratton and Charlie Flair are brawling. They're just brawling. All of a sudden, that is so volatile between them. All of a sudden, it's so volatile between those two that it has to be a pull-them-apart brawl with 20 individuals trying to break them up. That now warrants an all-out pull-them-apart brawl? Tiffany and Charlie? just doing the same thing that Cody and Kevin Owens did for their whole feud for months, just brawling every single show. Priest and McIntyre will just brawl like they did last night every single show, just like CM Punk and McIntyre did for months. Just like Braun Strowman and Fatu are going to do, just like Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed did before Bronson got injured. It was just nothing but pull 'em apart brawl after pull 'em apart brawl after pull 'em apart brawl. Why, BC? You're right. Why are we getting so many brawls, BC? Because it's easy. You don't have to tell a real story. They just don't like each other, and the story is it's on site. On site. That's it. That's the story. They're just going to beef and brawl. Gone are the days where you had like Macho Man and Ric Flair and that story leading into WrestleMania 8's title match where Ric Flair was trying to say that Miss Elizabeth is divorcing you. She's coming with me. And that whole story trying to make Macho Man believe that. There was a whole story outside of just the championship match at Mania. Gone are the days of Daniel Bryan and the Authority and how well done that was. At first, they didn't want to do it. They could not. They could not look away. Everywhere they looked, they were forced with the reality that you have to do that at Mania. And Vince said, all right, if we're going to do it, we're going to go all out. And Daniel Bryan and the Authority, man, was that so much fun, leading to that culminating moment in New Orleans for WrestleMania 30. But gone are those days. The good story with Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter at 7, with a real war that's going on, and they're utilizing that in the storyline. That was wild. Sergeant Slaughter, one of the most hated dudes around that time. And he was a pro wrestler. But that's how well the story was done. Gone are the days of the boyhood dream becoming the reality, and how well Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart was leading up to 12. And now we're just brawling. Tiffany and Charlie, 20 dudes for 20 minutes, could not break them up. That's real? They have cashed in storylines for brawls. It's becoming so redundant that it's literally a bathroom break when I start to see the suits and ties and the security come out. Oh boy, we're going to do this for 10 minutes. Easy filler for Hunter Helmsley. We have cashed in storylines for brawls. And the fans that eat all of this up and praise and put Hunter on a pedestal, they're going to go, oh, it's the storyline. This is epic, man. It's all chaos. Storylines for brawls. And we have cashed in cliffhangers for title changes. Cliffhangers that should be ending these shows 35 days away from WrestleMania as it stands today. 35 days away. Every show should be a cliffhanger. You have to see the next show. I can't believe how that ended. Right now it's must-see TV. It's Mania season. No, it's easier if we just go, let's have titles change hands every single show. That's what will have people talking. We don't have to think of a good story or a cliffhanger. We will just have titles change hands. And everybody will go, whoa, man, do you see what's going on? Profits just won the titles. EO just won the title. Do you guys realize that we have had 5 title changes in 18 days? 5 title changes within 5 shows. 18 days. 5 title changes. I got facts for you. Raw, February 24th. Just 18, what is it, as of now, maybe 19 days? It's the day after SmackDown. February 24th. Morgan and Raquel win the tag titles from Naomi and Belair. Feb 24. And Raw goes off the air with the new champions, heels by the way, Liv and Raquel, with Pyro going off. Pyro for the heels. Yeah, why not, right? Makes sense. Celebrate the heels. Morgan and Raquel, February 24th. March 3rd, 1 week later, exactly 1 week later on Monday Night Raw, Io Sky defeats Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship. Io becomes champion. And the show goes off the air with Io celebrating with Pyro going off. 1 week after Raquel and Liv just won their titles. In the same finish, Pyro going off with a celebration. That was March 3rd, 1 week after Morgan and Raquel. Io took the title from Rhea. 4 days later, SmackDown, March the 7th. 4 days after Io just won, and the show went off there with the Pyro celebration. 4 days later, SmackDown, March 7th, LA Knight becomes the U.S. champion, defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. Show ends with LA celebrating and Pyro going off. Sound familiar? Every single show. That was 4 days after Io, which was a week after Raquel and Morgan. And after LA Knight won his championship on March 7th, 4 days later, NXT March 11th, Stephanie becomes new NXT champion, defeating Julia, becomes a double champ. So they did that instead of drawing this out because Julia's got some visa issues and some minor injuries that she needs to attend to. So you could have draw this out a little bit, stand and deliver WrestleMania weekend, maybe do the title change, knowing that you have all of these other title changes happening on the main roster. But no, what they did was they put it right in the middle, and they had Stephanie hoist up 2 championships with pyro going off, or confetti. They couldn't get the pyro, and that's how the show ended. Even NXT, which again was just 4 days after LA Knight. And then 3 days later, last night, the Street Profits defeat DIY to become tag team champions. The show ends with the Street Profits hoisting up championships in celebration with pyro going off. You guys catch the bizarre trend here? Every single show for the last 2.5 weeks is just new champion pyro, new champion pyro, new champion pyro, new champion confetti, new champion pyro. Not a coincidence, it's easy booking. It's easy booking. And the detrimental part of this is we are 35 days away from WrestleMania, when these title changes should feel important because they feel prestigious. The champions in the championship moment when they win it should feel prestigious. But you're also giving respect to the dude or the gal that is losing the title. Allow them the chance to lose it on a grander stage, not the middle or the end or the beginning of a regular TV show. That's the problem. Because I know a lot of you guys are going to go, well, BC, hold on. You're going to say, BC, you got to have the titles change hands once in a while on the regular shows because it keeps it spontaneous. It keeps it special. It makes you think that anything can happen. I totally agree. Totally. Once in a while, you have titles change hands on the television show. Okay. I'm still hugely against it, but I totally understand that once in a while, you do need that aspect. Especially with how many championships there are right now in every company. Yeah, it's a lot easier to do that. But you just can't do it too often because, again, it loses its luster, it loses its feel. It's no longer prestigious if every show somebody's winning a title, right? And that's the problem. This isn't just, well, BC, every once in a while, man, titles have to change hands on the show to keep it special, to keep it spontaneous. But what happens when it's every single show? It's no longer special. It's no longer spontaneous. It's become the new normal. Guys, once in a while, I'm cool with it. More focus is placed on television shows these days because every single month there's at least 1, sometimes 2 premium live event pay-per-views. I get it. Not everything's going to be done at the pay-per-view. Hell, these days, Hunter can't even, or doesn't, want to book his champions on these shows, these premium live event pay-per-views. That's sad in itself. So I get it. But 5 different title changes in 18 days, 5 consecutive shows where titles change hands, that's unacceptable. At some point, you have to put the prestige or put them in a light where they look prestigious, these championships. Or else the champions and the people winning them, the people losing the titles and the championships themselves are going to be, they're going to be looked at as an afterthought. They're not going to be something we're going, oh man, you gotta see DIY's tag team title match at the pay-per-view coming up. No, nobody's saying that because they can't even get a pay-per-view match. And I don't recall anybody this whole week going, man, DIY's big title match with Street Profits. Nobody was doing that. Io taking the title from Rhea. That came out of nowhere, man. Io didn't win the Royal Rumble. Why is she getting a title shot? Io didn't win Elimination Chamber. Why is Io getting a title shot? It was weird. And then boom, Hunter just put the title on her. We believe just to get Io into this match with Rhea and Bianca, make it a triple threat. He felt the easiest way to do it is just have Io be the champion. And then people will just still want to see Rhea in the match anyway. That's what we believe is going to happen. It's all ass backwards. Nobody understands why any of this is happening. Why would Naomi and Belair have the tag titles for the length that they did just to hand them over to Liv and Raquel, getting them again, I believe that's their 3rd time, on a regular Raw? And if you are booking long-term, which some people truly believe Hunter is, which he is not, he is short-term box booking, But people really want to believe that he's long-term booking. If this is true, why would you have one championship victory trump the other nonstop? You're taking away any prestige that these title victories, the moments, you're taking them right away. None of these title moments have a chance to breathe because you're constantly talking about the next new champion who just won their title. It's the truth. They're stepping on one another. This type of booking is stepping on the moment beforehand, on the title change beforehand. That is sad. But it's easy booking for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Just end the show with a title change. Nobody will care about what happened the previous 3 hours. They'll all be talking about the title change. Listen, congrats to Io. Congrats to Liv and Raquel. Congrats to Stephanie. Congrats to the Street Profits. Congrats to LA Knight. This is a bizarre, concerning, alarming trend. We don't need all of these title changes back to back to back to back to back, and who knows what happens on Raw. Most likely another title will be switching hands. What we need is cliffhangers. Make us need to tune into next week. Give us storylines. We're on the edge of our seat, man. Larger than life characters and real badass long-term storytelling that has us invested, intrigued, captivated. That's what we want. Not champions galore. Oprah Winfrey, where everybody that shows up gets a car. You get a title, you get a title, you get a title, you get a title, and you get a title. No, thank you. Stop that. Spread them out, those championship victories and changing hands of the titles. Spread them out. Make them feel special. Let them stand on their own. Let them have a chance to breathe. LA Knight's championship victory already stepped on, and it only took 1 week. 1 week later, the Profits are winning on their SmackDown show, their titles. Raquel and Liv, that was stepped on 1 week later from Io. Stephanie stole all the spotlight, winning Julia's championship and hoisting that up for NXT. Back to back to back to back. Stop. Relax. Take a breath. These are titles, man. Title changes should be talked about in a special way. It should be special. But because it's the new normal, I'm telling you, it's not going to take long for fans just to go, I think we already are. More titles show. What was that? The Intercontinental? The IC title change hands last night. Yeah, that was wild. What else happened? Oh, did you see what Seth was wearing? And we easily just breezed past it. Guys, back in the day, man, when a title changed hands, it was huge. It was monumental news. Just give us cliffhangers. We don't need all the title changes back to back to back like this. Stop. Cliffhangers. And stop with all the brawls. Sit your ass down with some creative minds around you and let's start to get real stories. Everything can't be a brawl. That's all we're doing. Everybody is just brawling, and that's the story. And that is your cold open teaser that probably went a half an hour, who knows, but the coffee is flowing. BC has a lot to say on this show and just the title situation, just where we're headed to in WrestleMania 41, and now it is very clear what Hunter Hearst Helmsley is doing. He has cashed in stories for brawls, and he has cashed in cliffhangers for title changes. That's lazy. You gotta do better than that. Let's talk about this show. It's SmackDown 3/14/25. Clearly, I have a lot to say, so I'm going to do such. My unit, smash that up. Go ahead. Yes, you. Smash it. It's somewhere down below, man. It's a little thumb. Smash it. Smash that up. Help out the algorithm. Help the channel. Support the channel. I know. A lot of you guys probably not even channel members. It's totally free to just smash the up. Probably haven't even subscribed yet. You just watch all BC's vids and you're like, thanks, BC. Well, thank you. Subscribe. But the bare minimum, smash the up. Help out the algorithm. BC appreciates it. All right, swig of coffee. We're going to get into this. SmackDown 3/14/25. We're going to start the show with LA Knight and Jimmathy Uso. Jim Uso and LA Knight. Uso wants LA's championship. Yeah, sounds familiar. It sounds right? Face versus a face. That's the story you were getting last night. Let's talk about it. All right, so again, this show started off with La Knight and Jimmathy Uso. Jimmathy Uso wants that title. He says that road to Mania, it's getting a little bit shorter. He needs to have a match. So he's just going for a like it is WWE, man. There's never anything that makes sense. So I guess you can just parade yourself out there after losing a bunch of matches in a row and just say, hey, I want a title match at WrestleMania. Makes sense. I wouldn't put it past Helmsley to actually do something that stupid. Most likely it'll be a multi-dude shmoz match, like he's most likely doing with the tag teams, if they even get a Mania match. But if it is one-on-one, I wouldn't doubt that it would be Jimmathy Uso versus LA Knight. Because it's face versus face, it makes no sense. And because his brother's going for the world title. But that would turn into a six-man tag last night. LA Knight, Jimmathy Uso, and Braun Stromboli defeating the Bootleg Bloodline. Six-man tag match. Stromboli would pin Tama Tonka Truck via Power Slam pinfall. Post-match, Jacoby Fatu sends Stromboli through the barricade. And that's that. That's the segment. Strowman laid out. Fatu was kind of laid out too, but more Stromboli, I feel. So that was a way to kind of make Fatu still look strong, even though the Bootleg Bloodline lost the match. This should have been Roman and Fatu feuding into Mania, enough said, but it's not. So, enough said. There's nothing else to say about it. We're getting this weird triple threat between three top babyfaces. Punk, Rollins, Roman. For no reason. There's no title on the line. As of now, there's not even like a number one contenders match, which would still be stupid. But we're just getting three top babyfaces. Because Seth and Roman have this thing, and I guess Seth and Punk, and then they tried to ignite something Monday. They tried to plant a seed of a Punk-Roman feud, right? Roman got upset because Heyman was with Punk, and he so now we got to see all three dudes wrestle for nothing. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But it should have been, if we were doing storytelling properly and thinking about this in advance. This is simple. Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu on the grandest stage. No matter who wins or loses, no, Jacob Fatu, a star is going to be made, and Jacob Fatu is in that heel role, that diabolical heel role that he should be in. And Roman's in there with an actual heel. But it's not... Sometimes I truly feel, guys, not sometimes, all the time, I feel like I'm speaking so much common sense, and that's unusual in today's world. To speak common sense is just, it's not a normal. So when I do, I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't know about that, basically. I disagree, man. There's nothing to disagree. Literally, you're taking three top baby faces and putting them in the match for no reason. There's nothing on the line. Punk and Roman had nothing before Monday. This is stupid. Meanwhile, Jacob Fatu is playing around with Braun Strowman. I think they're having the payoff next week, right? I don't even know if they're going to Mania. It's all just, but that's how you started the show, man. But Jimmathy Uso was teasing a matchup with LA Knight. We'll see. And then we had this sit down. This was actually this may shock you. This was one of the best parts of the night. Maybe the aside from, giving the Prophets their respect. But this was actually, may surprise you guys, a really good segment. This was a really well sit-down interview with Jade Cargill conducted by Cathy Kelly in an empty Barcelona arena. Just really well done. They were kind of showing like the camera crew. It just felt like right. Like that is a good way to progress this. Because I think they did way too much last week. Jade was not needed. Bianca and Naomi were selling that segment like gold. There was no reason for Jade to come down there and basically do the payoff. She took out Naomi, wiped her hands, and took off on her own accord. Basically saying, all right, I'm good. I got my revenge. But what is that? That's the payoff. Nobody needs to pay anything else to see it now. So this was a way to calm it down. Let it breathe. Empty arena, Cathy Kelly up there interviewing Jade Cargill. Jade was getting emotional while recalling getting shoved off the ledge onto that car a couple months ago from Naomi. She was starting to get emotional, recalling what she remembers from it. And then we hear some kind of heckling or some girls talking off to the side. At first you're like, is this part of the shtick, or is this like some crew members just being obnoxiously loud and like it's picking up on camera, like somebody has to shut them up? But it quickly is apparent that it's Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, and they're walking ringside with their luggage, because that's not uncommon, right? You get into the arena and sometimes you go out to the ring immediately. It's not common that you would have your luggage still, because there's a whole separate area that leads from the parking lot. But still, it was pretty cool. You know, it's like they're just arriving, empty arena. So Liv and Raquel are like, oh, it is Jade. And they start heckling Jade. And Jade starts screaming back, not now, not now. Now's not it. Now is not it. And they start screaming over one another. Just like Bianca and Naomi did last week. Sometimes that's too confusing and too loud. It's like, stop, you're all just screaming. But sometimes it works. It makes it more real. And just like Naomi and Belair last week, Jade, Liv, and Raquel, they made that work last night, yelling over one another. So they start arguing, and it culminates in a Jade versus Liv match for next week. Morgan's closing line was funny. Sure, I'll face you next week. Just try not to get pushed onto any cars between now and then. I had to do a little... I may have spit some coffee out on that one. That was actually pretty funny. Just the way she delivered that line. I'll face you next week. Try not to get pushed onto any cars between now and then. Just really laying into Jade, like the Mean Girls Club, you know? So I thought that was actually well done. That's what I mean about story progression. You know, everything doesn't have to be in the ring, culminating to a brawl. Take it back. Let's think about things, man. Let's try to get creative. What if we just sit Jade in an empty arena and really get emotional with this? And if we need to set up a match... Dude, that's where you bring in Liv and Raquel with their luggage like they're just arriving and they're just going to pick on... It's the little things that are not so little, man. Segments like that is what makes the pro wrestling thing work. I liked it. I absolutely did. And then we went to... I got to give props to Be Fabulous here. But it's what happened afterwards. I have no idea where's the line? Is everybody just going to have a 20-minute pull-them-apart brawl now? We have to talk about this. This is Charlie, Flair, and Be Fabulous, and then post-match Tiffany Stratton activity. So Charles Flair defeats Be Fabulous via figure 8 submission. Post-match, Flair refuses to break the hold. Tiffy time for the save. They brawl literally for like 5 minutes. There is like 20 referees, suit and ties, security, literally says it's just like local wrestling talent, but security for story purposes for the brawl. So there's like 20 dudes out there, 20. And for 5 minutes, they can't do anything. They cannot get these two girls to just separate, not even close. And so for 5 minutes, they just brawl. And that's what I mean when I say these brawls are getting straight goofy. Goofy. So these 20 dudes are trying to break it up. The problem is they're just not breaking up anything. And that's how hour one ends. I think Charlie Flair goes to the top rope, delivers a senton to everybody. Knocks all 20 individuals out plus a Tiffany. I don't think she ever hit Tiffany. She maybe hit one person. It was like dominoes. You know, that spot where everyone waits to catch you and you all fall like a dominoes. Jenga, one piece removed, everybody. That's it. And that's how hour one ended. It was so goofy. But it was about to get even goofier for hour number 2. If you saw the show, you know what I'm talking about. So hour 2, we start with Charles and Tiffany still brawling. Guys, we already went to commercial. We came back. Miz was in the ring for Miz TV. And all of a sudden, Tiffany and Charles just come out to the top of the ramp and they just start brawling again. 20 dudes still intact. 20 dudes cannot... Security, refs, suits and ties. So by that point, it's 10 minutes. They want you to believe that they were fighting all the way through break. And Miz's entry. So 10 minutes now, they've been brawling. And 20 individuals cannot break them up. And then we proceeded to go another 5 minutes where these 20 dudes could not do jack shit. To the point where now, Tiffany goes up to the top of what was it? One of those... What'd she go up to? Like, it was like a balcony. I think it was like the top maybe of the LED boarding, because this was the top of the ramp or entranceway. But we'll call it the balcony. So she goes up high. All 20 dudes into Charlie are there waiting to catch her. And she does a senton. Just like we ended hour 1, we start hour 2 with dominoes. Everybody just falls. I don't even think she touched Charlie. I don't know. But when one goes down, they all just have to go down, right? That's the planned spot. And one female, twice in 10 minutes, one female took out 20 dudes and the other female. Now, you want me to suspend reality, right? Suspend the disbelief. I call it suspending belief and entering the wacky world of pro wrestling that we all love. I will gladly enter to that wacky world of pro wrestling. I love doing it. But you have to meet the fans in the middle and say, hey, we'll give you something to believe. I always say, even with Bray Wyatt or Papa Shango or The Undertaker's voodoo or special talents that they would have, right? The mystical talents that they had. They always did it in a way where you could still suspend that disbelief. Suspend that belief. It's Tiffany and Charlie. If you have 20 people out there, 20 dudes, and you call yourself security, that's not realistic to have them brawling for 20 minutes across 2.5 segments. I can only suspend that belief for so long, man. I can't believe that one girl has taken out 21 people twice. I can't believe that. You know, if you want to sell me that Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed or Fatu and Braun are doing that, I can buy into it to a certain degree. For a certain amount of time, by the way. This was just goofy. It just was, and I love Tiffany Stratton. I really do. It sucks that she's going to drop that title at Mania just to give Charlie a 14th, 15th title reign to get closer to her pops, but this was just so weird, man. I mean, this is Helmsley's incredible creative, right? Go out there and brawl. The best he could think of with Tiffany and Charlie 35 days away from Mania is brawl. So from here on out, like Gunther and Jey Uso, like Fatu and Braun, like Priest and McIntyre and everybody else, it's on-site brawl. It's not fun if that's the story for everybody, but that's it. The story for all of WWE right now is utter chaos. Isn't it fun? Not when it's done all the time. I couldn't believe Tiffany and Charlie was given the go out there and brawl for 20 minutes treatment. I couldn't believe it, but I kind of could. But I'm like, are we really doing this? What do you guys think the story's going to be going forward? Do you think any of these are going to change? Do you think all of a sudden with 35 days left, where Hunter's just going to start to get uber creative and Jey Uso and Gunther is going to get an awesome story? Do you think Priest and McIntyre is going to go next level? Do you think Randy and Kevin Owens are not just going to beat each other up for the next 5 weeks on site? Do you think that the whole tag team division trying to go for Profits Championship, do you think they're just not going to brawl nonstop? Storylines are gone, man. We cashed in storylines for Brawls. This was wild, man. I couldn't believe not wild in a good way. Charles and Tiffany brawling for 20 minutes across 2.5 segments. And 20 dudes couldn't do shit. They couldn't even try to break them up. Miz TV, Cody Rhodes is the guest. Miz cuts Cody's music, says he doesn't have time for sing-along with Cody. Cody's not in the mood, so he just drops Miz with a crossroads, and that's the segment. I don't even think he got a word in. He just delivers crossroads. Check you. Backstage, Shinsuke is yelling at Damien Priest in Japanese. Priest is yelling back in Spanish. Nick Aldis says, I don't know what any of you are saying, but I'll make a match between the twos of yous. So that's what happens. Priest defeats Nakamura via DQ when McIntyre interferes. McIntyre drops Priest. Post-match, Mac beats up Priest a little bit more. Yells at him, stomps him in his face. Referees are coming out. They would have brawled if Priest wasn't knocked out, I'm sure. And then, did we go into hour 3 at that? But yes, I think then we went into hour 3 finally. Swig of coffee, we'll talk about it. All right, so Randy Orton defeats Melo Hayes via RKO pinfall. This is a rematch from a few months back. Same result as a few months ago, by the way. I believe, right? Took an RKO and that's it. It's amazing. I said this last time, a couple months ago. Melo just looks so tiny compared to Randy Orton. So tiny. I don't know what it is. I've seen individuals smaller than Melo. It just looks like Melo's so tiny compared to some of these wrestlers. It's really wild. But Randy Orton defeats him with that RKO. Props to Melo. I do got to give mad props here because post-match, Orton extends his hand for some mutual respect, and Melo just gives him a pie face, shoves him away. Fucking palm to face. It was so well done. Now, for his defiance, he took another wild RKO, so I kind of feel bad for the dude as well. It was wild. He landed on his dome piece, man. Like forehead first. Boom. Done. Probably should have shook his hand, but he took one for the team, man. No more mutual respect. So I got to give some props over to Melo. Because that defiance just knocked him out with a second RKO. And that was it. I think I blinked and Kevin Owens was out there. It's like he went to save Melo. He dragged him out of the ring at one point. Orton went to like chase him. Owens stumbled. I think they brawled for like a minute, and then like Owens, I think, got away. Something like that, guy. It was quick, man. I mean, it was a sip of coffee and Owens was already gone. So that's what I mean. I mean, if that's your WrestleMania match, which it's looking like, what's your story, man? I understand how we got to this point, right? Owens taking out Randy. But what are we just on-site brawling now every time? Come on, man. Like, then you can't give that to everybody. I don't want to harp on that, but that's what you saw last night. There is no payoff. Basically, if you're getting Priest, if you're going for Priest and McIntyre, well, then you can't brawl every week. If you're going Randy Orton, Owens, you can't brawl you're going to have to get creative at some point. You're going to have to start telling storylines. It can't just be Jade, Bianca, Naomi holding the whole company with a storyline. You can't even put Cena in this because Cena's gone. He had one good night where he turned heel, and that's the story. Whenever Cena comes back, I think Monday he's got an appearance. We'll add a little bit of spice to it. But for the most part, Cena's not going to show up that much. Are you putting everything on Bianca, Jade, and Naomi? And think about that. As much as I love those ladies, I put them all on a pedestal. Yeah, even Jade, I take heat for that. But I put them up on a pedestal. But that's saying a lot if that's your best story right now. And again, because Cena and Rock doesn't show up. That's it. So I don't know what you want me to say about Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. That was so weird, man. If that's the case, I wouldn't have even had Owens come out last night. If you blinked and you didn't even see him. BC's rocking, man, in this one. I'm always rocking, though, man. There ain't no filter, man. We just dropping fact bombs left and right. It's what we do. The unit. Salute, guys. Gunther then defeats Axiom via Gunther bomb pinfall. Post-match, Gunther chokes out Axiom. Joe Tess says that he had him in a sleeper post-match. He did not have him in a sleeper. Gunther's arm was clearly under the chin of Axiom. There is a big difference between a sleeper and a choke, guys. Sleeper, chin, right? You get that? Was that like that pressure point? Put him right to sleep. Choke is when you're under the chin. You're getting that that's the choke. So Tess is a little bit mistaken there. And even afterwards, I think Gunther was talking to Jimmy Uso backstage, and he even said, I just choked out Axiom. I don't want that to happen to Jay. Can you be the reasonable one? Can you tell your brother, he may want to relax? So even Gunther said he choked him out. Just saying, Tess. We're trying to help you because I like Tess. I really do. But, he's still learning, I'm guessing. But there is differences, so you don't want to say he was putting a sleeper if he actually had the arm under, because that could be a big part of the story that Gunther is trying to portray. Gunther's telling you he choked him out. You thought it was a sleeper. It's what this channel is, man. We just, I watch for you guys with a keen eye, man, distinctively. And I do it. I dissect pro wrestling. Yes, pat on the back a little bit, but I dissect pro wrestling better than most. It's what I'm really good at. So, I just pick up these things, and, I have this channel to smarten up every pro wrestling fan in these type of scenarios, because I know a lot of you guys are pro wrestlers. You're training as we speak. You're touring the world actually wrestling. And, Little things like that, it's good to know. And if BC can teach it to you, man, before you get in that ring and start rocking, pretty cool. But there's a difference between a sleeper hold and a choke, Tess. Paul Heyman is out next to promote WWE 2K25, the video game. He says it's not CM Punk Day, it's not Seth Rollins Day, it's Roman Reigns Day. Crowd starts to do a Seth Rollins sing-along. And I love this, because you guys know how I feel about that sing-along, that Disney sing-along for Seth Rollins. So you had Paul Heyman say, and I quote, "With all due respect, I absolutely hate that song." That was the best part of the promo. Other than that, Heyman was just promoting 2K25. You got no advancement for CM Punk, Rollins, Roman. They'll probably keep that Raw, I'm guessing. But that's it. Paul Heyman was out there really just to promote the video game. But at least he gave us that gem, man, how most of us feel about that damn, or a lot of us anyway, feel about that damn sing-along. Right up there with the yeet. Main event. The Street Profits defeated DIY to become new tag team champions. Gargano inadvertently super kicks Ciampa. Dawkins then drops Gargano center of the ring, tags Montez, and Ford delivers a super frog splash. I'm pretty sure he tapped the ceiling on his way up. That's how high Montez was. And Montez comes down with that super frog splash, and Ford pins Gargano. And Ford and Dawkins, the Street Profits, become new tag team champions on SmackDown from Barcelona on a slight tape delay by several hours for the States. So that did break a few hours before the show actually aired. And the show ends with the Profits celebrating to Pyro. So again, on one hand, salute. I'm a huge advocate for Montez. You guys know that. And I feel they have been slighted, thrown to the wayside for far too long. Pretty cool moment on that side of it, that hand. On the other hand, on the flip side, every show is just ending the same way. New champion, Pyro, good night, everybody. There's your headline. No stories, no cliffhangers, nothing that makes the next week must-see TV. You're just seeing payoffs. New champions. That's it. Don't need to see anything else. Why do I need to see Mania? Watch 3 baby faces face each other for the men, Roman, Punk, Rollins, and 3 baby faces for the ladies, Rhea, Io, Bianca. Thank goodness they turned Cena. That would have been face versus face, Cena versus Cody. You're going to see face versus face, Jimmathy Uso versus LA Knight. You're going to see multi-person shmoz matches galore, most likely. U.S. Championship, the tag team titles. Raw, February 24th. Morgan and Raquel win the tag titles. Show goes off there with Pyro. 1 week later, Io defeats Rhea Ripley. Pyro to a new champion. 4 days later on SmackDown, LA Knight defeats Shinsuke. Pyro for the new champion. March 11th, 4 days later, Stephanie becomes new champion. Confetti for the champion. Pyro was not, it's too small of an arena for NXT. SmackDown 3 days later, Profits become tag titles. Every single show, 5 title changes in 18 days. When is enough? Monday's going to come around, you're probably going to get the same thing. Or at least by next Friday. You're going to have to eventually invest in stories. It's WrestleMania season, man. You can't survive like just having new champions every single show. You're going to have to get creative and give us real stories so that we can really get captivated by it. Brawls after brawls after brawls after brawls are not going to do it. Hunter is hiding behind lazy creativity and booking. Brawls and title changes. It is evident that that's the recipe into WrestleMania. That's a bumpy road you're playing with. It's not needed. And I understand he's doing all of the promotionals and he's doing voiceover. Are you ready? And he's doing his Hall of Fame speech and he's got all these, he's doing everything else but being creative. Then give that role to somebody else. But he won't because he loves having his name there as the executive producer. He loves the spotlight that goes with chief content officer. The problem is if you suck at your job, eventually wouldn't you have to be removed from the work? That goes in any jurisdiction. In any field. Title changes and brawls. SmackDown delivered no different last night from Barcelona. We'll see if Raw will give us something different. I don't know. Something tells me you're going to see a lot of brawls Monday night. We'll talk about it. That's what I got for you guys, man. Until next time, there will be that next time. BC and the Unit 44 dive. That's a wrap. We saying check you. Salute.